All right, I'm here with Sami from the American Financial Network. She is a lender and she is amazing, veteran, super involved in the community here in Oak Harbor and the surrounding area, but she is a wealth of knowledge. So we get a lot of questions from buyers that we just hear regularly over and over, and so we decided that we would ask the expert and try and put it all in one place for you so you can get some of those answers. First of all, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sami, and I'm with American Financial Network. I have been a mortgage loan officer for the better part of the last 3 years. I got out of the Army in 2020 and went straight into lending, and I really love the industry as a whole. I love being able to educate and help people get into that largest financial investment of their lifetimes and do it with confidence so that they can feel comfortable knowing what they're getting into.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I liked about you when I met you is the confidence part. You give them the information. It's not just a here to do what I say, just follow along, this is the steps. You actually educate them every step of the way, which is wonderful.
I feel like that's the most important aspect is understanding what you're getting into so that you're not house poor or you don't know, like, where is all my money going to that I pay every month? Where does all that go? So understanding where all of that goes and where you feel comfortable as a home buyer is very important, because I can pre-approve you for what you can get pre-approved for, but that may not be where you want your monthly payment.
Exactly.
And having that conversation and feeling confident about where you want that monthly payment to be is critical.
Absolutely. I love that. So that's actually my first question is a lot of the buyers that my team and I talk to on a daily basis, we'll get a new buyer and we'll tell them that the first step is getting pre-approved with the lender. And all of a sudden it's like the skids go on and they're like, no, I don't know. And I don't know why they're so scared. Maybe because it's never fun talking about finances.
Yeah.
But are there some things that you do to kind of ease their mind about reaching out for the first time?
I always tell people I'm like the lowest stress lender you're ever going to meet, because I really just want to help you understand this process and help you understand what we're getting into. I want to meet your goals and your timelines, because sometimes when we work with our military buyers, they're 6 months to a year out. It might not make sense to pull your credit and start right now. But at least we can look at the situation, we can look at the numbers, and we can get a good idea for where we should be headed, or we can get ahead of any issues that we have to do with credit. One of the neat things that we offer that some lenders don't is we can do a soft pull to do the pre-approval letter so that it's not affecting your credit and inundating you with all of those trigger lead phone calls that everybody gets. That's probably one of the reasons nobody wants to talk to us, is because the moment we pull your credit, you're going to get phone calls from 11 different lenders that are trying to, they buy those leads, and it's not the mortgage companies that sell those leads, it's the actual credit companies that sell those. And there are some mortgage companies that buy those, and they will call you once another lender pulls your credit.
And that's actually something that I'm really glad you brought up, the soft pull, because, for example, I have a buyer who he's going to be deploying and he wants a house to move into when he gets back.
Yep.
So we'll be doing this sight unseen, virtual, everything while he's deployed.
Yep.
So I told him call you and start the process. Now he can get you all of his documentation, everything needed for the pre-approval. So when he's on the boat, we can just update that when we're closer to when he's ready to buy, which will be October.
Yeah.
But he's not having to scramble and try and find things where he's really limited.
And the benefit of starting early with a lender is really that we can take a full look at your financial picture. I can look at all your debts and your income in one place and understand where we are, if we have debts we need to pay off, or if we have stuff that we want to work on with your credit to get you in a better credit bracket. All of these are things that we can work on when we start early, versus if we wait until the day that you find the house you love. I can't guarantee you that I can get you pre-approved in 12 hours or less. That is a big hoop. So it's always better, in my opinion, to start early and be in good communication and chatting with your lender early before you find the house that you love and you're ready to make an offer.
Then you can jump on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what exactly is required? What do you need from a buyer to get pre-approved? What documents?
So it depends on your unique situation, but in most places, most of the time, we're going to need your most recent 30 days of pay stubs, most recent 2 months of bank statements. We're going to need your driver's license so we can verify who you are. And then just depending on your individual situation, we might need W-2s, we might need spouses' pay stubs, we might need divorce decrees, we might need retirement statements. It all depends on the file. So we won't ask for more than we need, typically.
But it sometimes feels like a lot. So
it feels like a lot.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot, but we aren't going to ask you for more than we need. We don't want more than we ask for. And we're going to collect all that documentation and put it together to send it to the underwriter to say this is why they can qualify for this home.
And what's good about getting all that information up front is when you're under contract on a house and you get to that underwriting stage, which tends to be middle of the transaction, towards the end, you don't want any surprises. So getting all that information up front so you already know it's all good before it even goes to underwriting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Key. So
yeah, the more that we can review before we go under contract, the better. Because then it's going to be less hiccups down the road. We're not putting your earnest money at as much risk or anything like that. And we're being as cautious as we can with making sure that you are fully pre-approved and sometimes even underwritten before we go under contract.
And one thing that you mentioned is you need pay stubs. The military doesn't get a typical pay stub, so what do you usually require?
Last 2 months LES is usually what I ask for them, and that tells me everything for the most part that I need to know in terms of your pay. If there are any unique pay situations like deployment pay or anything like that, we might need more clarification or a note from your commander saying that flight pay will continue or whatever. But it generally, LES is typically the gold standard for what we need for your income for active duty.
And that's why it's so good to have a lender who understands the military lifestyle, because I had one where they were just hounding the client for pay stubs and they kept sending their LES and they're like, that's not a pay stub. Yes, it is. So
yes, that's a pay stub that tells you a lot more than most.
Or knowing how flight pay works and what you need for that, or those letters of VA eligibility or whatever. It goes a long way. Okay, another question that we get is, why can't they go look at houses before they talk to a lender? What would you say?
Looking at houses before you talk to a lender is like just shopping Zillow. You don't know what your budget is. You don't know what your monthly payment is. You don't know what loan amount is going to put you in the price range that you want to be. So for example, when I first bought my first house in 2018, I went through a large online company that didn't do a whole lot of educating. And I applied. He pre-approved me for the maximum amount that I could get pre-approved for on my active duty income. And I was like, cool, I can shop for a $350,000 house. And then I went and had him run numbers on a $350,000 house for me. And I was like, I don't want that much of a mortgage payment. I want to keep it in my BAH. So if that is your goal, it's really important to have that budget conversation with your loan officer so that they can guide you and say, hey, with this rate and this loan amount, this is going to be your monthly payment. And that way you know for sure that you're going to not feel house poor by the amount of money that you're putting into that house every month. And a lot of times that's scaling back expectations. Like, you may think you want a $700,000 house, but you don't want the payment that goes with a $700,000 house.
And if you go look at that $700,000 house before you're pre-approved, it's going to be really hard to look at a $400,000 house the same way. So
it's very hard
comparing it to the other one.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to think you have a champagne budget when you actually have a beer budget.
Exactly. All right. I guess the last question that I have for you is, a lot of times when we get to closing, you'll see title insurance and lender's insurance. Can you talk about what the difference is and why they're important?
So we have lender's title insurance and we have owner's title insurance. Lender's title insurance is for the lender because we are securing that property as collateral for the loan. We require that to defend our stake in that property because we have a stake in that property with your mortgage. Owner's title insurance is your protection as the owner of that property to defend any claims against the title for your sake. So we require the lender's title insurance. The owner's title insurance often is optional, but I always highly advise that you talk to your title representative before deciding to remove that, because they can explain to you the repercussions of why that may not be a good idea.
Okay. Well, hopefully this was really helpful. These are questions I get on a daily basis, and just to have it all right here in a nutshell for people and they can get some things answered.
Of course.
And you're a great resource. So if you have any questions, reach out to Sami. She's awesome.
Thank you.